You saw it, Tina, or yeah?
Oh, you did? Oh.
Did you look to all the original?
Sorry.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. To those of you who do not know me, my name is Tyrone Roach, and I'm the Public Relations Officer for the Barbados Overseas Community and Friends Association, who is the Barbadian group working in conjunction with the Marcia Weekes Show. I'm delighted to see all of you here, and I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful and stimulating evening. Just going to say a few words about BOCFA. BOCFA is the oldest Barbadian organization in the UK. It started with a group in almost every town, and then in 1966, and then it evolved into one group where each city decided to have their own organization. So that's why we are just in London, but we continue to work above despite all the challenges and stuff like that. So we are delighted to be here tonight and to support Marcia Weeks. I haven't got the bio, but I can say one thing about Marcia. Marcia has a TV show in Barbados, and she, was that the word I used, activist? I see her as an activist because everything that happens that she doesn't think that the public of Barbados should be accepting, there's either a protest march or TV shows to discuss the issues. So ladies and gentlemen, may I now introduce to you the moderator for this evening, Miss Marcia Weeks. Over to you, Marcia.
Thank you so much, Tyrone. Is this on? Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. As you heard, I am Marcia Weeks, and you might hear a little something in the accent there. And can anybody, if you don't watch the show, where was I born? Can anybody figure it out? Jamaica, okay? And you're wondering, what is this woman who was born in Jamaica here in the UK holding this panel discussion? What is that all about, right? And I know my Bajan people are like, what are you doing talking about Barbados, right? Well, I've lived in Barbados for over 26 years. And prior to that, I lived in New York for a couple of years as well. And the truth is that I've lived in Barbados longer than I've lived in Jamaica. My husband is a Barbadian, and we have 3 wonderful children, 3 boys. And I've grown to love Barbados. It's my country. I know the Jamaicans in the room going to say, look, she, gonna leave Jamaica. It never really, that doesn't really happen. But truthfully, I really love Barbados. It's where I have developed as a person. The work that I do with young people, it's all, in Barbados. And I love the people of Barbados. And this particular topic of the youth in the diaspora became a concern to me because, as I said before, I work with young people. And all you would hear from them is they can't wait until they're finished UE. they actually start to figure out from they're in second year how they're going to leave. And I remember speaking to Maxine McLean, who is a former senator in Barbados. And I was sharing with her the concern, and I was sharing with my husband for about 2 years. No, it's almost like people weren't listening to me. And the reason I was concerned about it is I remember in Jamaica when that started to happen. I remember, ma'am, when we were losing our best and our brightest young people. And it's almost like parents were arranging for the children to go because, you know what? They say everybody have to eat, right? They have to eat, so that we're going to let them go. And, you know, and I would talk with young people, and they would, you know, in Barbados, they're telling me the same thing. You know what? There's nothing here for me. I have to go. And it just made me sad, to be honest with you. And when I realized that I would be in UK for a day, I actually just flew in. I'm coming from Poland. We had an engagement in Poland. And I said to Tyrone, Tyrone, we have to have a discussion about this, because I believe that Barbados is much smaller than Jamaica. And I happen to believe that we can stem the tide. I think that we have, I keep saying to Barbadians, we are enough. You know, we have the answers. And as we gather this evening, I'm hoping that this would not be just a regular talk shop, you know, like brass tacks. Anybody remember brass tacks? Let's take it beyond brass tacks, and let's be really, really serious about it. And to see if we can come up with find out what the real problems are. So we're going to be real. And let's see if we can come up with some ideas and some solutions. Let's kind of think solutions, because sometimes when we go brass tacks way, we can complain a lot. Not so? Not true? Right? So we want to really look at the problem, be honest about it, and to see exactly what solutions we can come up with. So I really want to thank Tyrone for grabbing the suggestion and running with it. I just turned up today, and he did all of this along with the organization that he's working with. So I just want to really commend them for the work that they have done. But before I introduce the panelists here, I would love for those in the audience that are millennials. So if you are up to, say what, 45? Don't kill me. 45? Can you stand, please? 45 and under? 45 and under. Yeah. Can we give them a hand? Yeah, I can't stand. Well, but no. I want to say, wait, what happened? Really? Wow, yeah. I tell you, listen, black people, boy. Listen, I want to say to you that I had no idea that I would see anybody 45 years and under. Usually when we have anything in the diaspora with my films, I do movies, etc., we don't see this age group a lot. And I want to commend you for coming out this evening. It tells me that you are really serious about what's happening in Barbados, and you're interested to come out on a Monday evening. Right? So tonight, listen, we have the panelists here, but we want you to get involved, right? We want to hear what you have to say, what your thoughts are, what are your solutions, why you leave, and you probably vow on your mother's grave you're not going back. But we want to hear the truth tonight, okay? Well, thank you so very much. You may be seated. Of course, we welcome everybody else. People look at me and say, well, I guess I shouldn't come. No. We welcome everybody else. But so tonight we have with us Miss Wendy Cummins, Ricardo Eversley, and Leah Affiah. Now, we had announced that Dawn Marie Armstrong would have been here, but she had some difficulties, and she's not able to make it this evening. But we're going to find some way to record the speech that she wrote so that we can get that out to everyone in the diaspora, okay? So please accept our apologies for that. Well, our first panelist is Miss Wendy Cummins, sorry, Miss Wendy Cummins. Wendy Cummins is a director of Radiate Festival, an events and creative company based in London. She created a brand to connect the diaspora through events to give them a greater sense of feeling back home. She has been on a mission since 2018 to amplify the outdoor presence of Caribbean, African, and Creole-speaking communities. Wendy is British-born with Bajan and Jamaican heritage. She spends a large part of her of the year in Barbados, living locally with family. So let's welcome Wendy Cummins.
Do you want to sit or stand? Okay, I'll stand so that those at the back can see me. Hi, guys. So, thank you for the invitation. My name is Wendy Cummins. She basically read out everything I was going to say already. So I've got nothing left to add. No, not really. My name is Wendy Cummins. I am the director of Radiate Festival. Some of you may know about Radiate Festival, and if you don't, by the end of my speech, you're going to know about Radiate Festival. So I was born here, obviously. My mother is Jamaican. My father is from Barbados. My mother came here when she was 7 years old. And my father came here when he was in his 20s from Barbados via Canada for a year. And he stayed until he was 72 and then migrated back home to Barbados. So he did something that many haven't been able to do, which is basically remigrate. And I think that's quite important to note, because even in his going back, that was quite a challenge for him, because, you know, having left in his 20s and going back in his 70s, that's 50 years that he wasn't in Barbados. That's 50 years that he was away from the people that he grew up with. That's 50 years away from the soil that was underneath his feet when he was growing up. So he had to relearn how to be Bajan with some British roots, because he took back with Bajans, you know, and he really had to learn that the mindset needed to shift, because this is where he is now in terms of you're living in Barbados, you're not going anywhere else because you're probably not going to bother to step back on a plane again. So accept what you've now chosen for yourself. You've chosen to come back home. So you need to now make it feel like home, even if those around you are basically, in essence, through their actions or their euphemisms or their comments, saying, you left us, you know? It's about saying, I left, but I came back, you know? And this is what I came back with. So it's been very, very interesting watching his process over the last kind of 6, 7, 8 years. And what I would say about him now is that he is glad for Barbados. When I say he is glad for Barbados, he's glad for the community that he has around him that are not in their 70s, they're not in their 60s, they're in their 40s, they're in 30s, they're in their 50s, but they look out for him. And he feels such a deep sense of community and reconnection with being back home in Barbados. I will say he wouldn't have had that here. And it's something that, unless you go through that process yourself, you don't really know what you're missing. You know, he's had medical scares over the last 3 years that literally his neighbors have stood in the space of where his children would be or where his partner would be, and they've held him. They've looked after him. They've cooked for him. They've checked on him. They've driven him up and down. They've come and just stood on the porch and chatted with him. They've leaned in to the fact that he is in their community and he is their community. And that's what I want us all to feel. Because here, England is a very cold place, not just atmospherically, but energetically. And I think that some of us remain here thinking that's all we have available to us as an option, and that's all we should have, but it's not. The world is massive. You know, we have links, especially familiar links with Barbados, and we can go back. We can live between. But we have to shift this to understand, actually, I need to orchestrate my life to be that. And unless we do that work and that process, we'll never go back to where our parents and grandparents and ourselves migrated from. Because the fact is, you know, when originally my grandparents came here from Jamaica, they did come to stay. Whereas when my dad came here, he didn't come here necessarily to stay. He came here for work. And he met my mother, obviously. He liked her a lot. So he stayed. And there was us. But in that leaving Barbados and coming here, he left a child back in Barbados. And that child at the time was very young. And whilst when I look at what we had versus what she had, in terms of, I had a two-parent home. She had a one-parent home. You know, I could come home and say, oh, Daddy. You know, I mean, I could sit on my dad's lap. I could see him working. I could see his progress. But she never had any of that. But when she looks at me, she sees her sister. She doesn't see half anything. You know, she embraced all of us as her siblings, as her full own, as though we all grew up together. But it did create a trauma, that leaving. And that trauma is seen throughout our community. The mine is just one example. But it is seen throughout our entire community. And we have to recognize what that mass migration did to our diaspora. And we got some fixing to do. We've got some work to do. And we need to use technology as a way to get back, as a way to reconnect, as a way to say, this is my home too. You know, I might be British born, or I might be living here, but that's home too. Because when I go back to Barbados, people do call me a foreigner. People do call me a tourist. Don't matter that I've been here, you know, for 6 months or 3 months and I'm coming every single year pretty much. I'm still seen as being an outsider when I go back to Barbados. You know, I do try and use some lingo sometimes. Some days it works and some days it don't work, yeah? But I'm like, don't judge me for it, because at the end of the day, I should be able to use the tongue of my father and the tongue of my mother to communicate and express myself. And I shouldn't be looked down on if I want to fling a little wanna in the conversation. Embrace it, embrace me, and pat me on the back and tell me I did good. Because I'll keep on practicing, I'll get better, and I'll get better, and I'll get better. Because that is what will make me feel that reconnection with, or that connection with home. And maybe complete that transitional progress of remigrating. Because my displacement that I felt, being 44 years old, the displacement that I felt being here is, I should never have felt displaced being here because I was born here. But I've always felt like actually this wasn't fully my home, this wasn't fully my identity. So I've been on my own search. That's why I started Radiate Festival. Now, Radiate Festival was born, its first iteration actually happened in 2018, but it came after I was traveling in 2015. I went all around Southeast Asia, I went all around Latin America, and parts of Europe backpacking, because apparently in your 30s, you know, you can choose to do those things. Even though my dad said to me, where you going? I'm like, listen, I'm a grown woman. I'm a grown woman. And I did. I went backpacking and I saw the world. I saw other parts of the world. And I saw people just being in their culture. You know, just every day on the streets, on the buses. And I was like, I'm not getting this in the UK. I'm not getting this in England. And I really wanted to kind of do the same thing across the Caribbean, but it was just too expensive. And it's like after I did that, I kind of said, I need something to make me feel connected. And I was like, you know what? I went to Trinidad and I went to Marcia on Monday, and I saw all of those people just in a oneness of spirit, you know, connecting through music. And there were so many people. I was like, we don't have this in the UK. So I was like, I'm going to do a festival. That's what I'm going to do. And didn't seek any advice from anyone. I thought it was going to be really easy. I really did. And it wasn't. okay? It's been the hardest 5, 6, 7, nearly 8 years of my entire existence. But it's been a necessary and a worthwhile journey, because what I did is I looked through the calendar and I said, okay, I want it to be a reflection of my blackness, of my culture, of my upbringing. And I was like, what in the diary is relatable and can be owned by my community that no one else can say it's about me too, right? Or about us as well. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to pick the Windrush. Now, obviously, being half Jamaican, half Bajan, many people thought that the Windrush was really just about the migration of Jamaicans, because obviously they were the ones being deported. But when I came up with the concept of doing a festival to celebrate the Windrush, the scandal hadn't actually happened yet. So Guy Hewitt, was the commissioner at the time. And I remember I got in contact with the embassy, I got in contact with Visit Barbados, and I was like, you know, I want to do a festival, I want to celebrate, and because, you know, my dad comes from Barbados, I've got such a connection with Barbados, you know, I want you to be involved and support this. And then shortly after, the scandal emerged, and then everybody started to learn about the Windrush, and then everyone started to kind of direct and create this narrative that they wanted the Windrush to have. But for me, it was always about that date, about our iconic migration en masse to the UK, and what our impact was in terms of creating this cultural melting pot. So for the last few years, I've been doing Windrush Festival, and it's been a really interesting journey, but it's been a platform that I can connect our Caribbean diaspora, and I can decide who gets to go on a stage, who gets to be a trader, who gets to come along in a really authentic kind of way, and not in a way where I'm piecemealing out our culture to say, oh, okay, well, this is most palatable, so this goes in. You know, it's really been about opening it up and saying, actually, we want to unpack the layers of our Caribbean-ness, because I know that growing up, my Jamaican mother was very different from my Bajan father, and there are nuances in that Caribbean identity that don't really have the space to be expressed and that space to be shared. All of this work, I wanted people to feel that actually wherever they came from, their parents or their grandparents came from, I wanted them to feel like it could be accessible to them. But I wanted them to also feel like being here, they could still feel that place of home. You know, when we are celebrating ourselves without anyone giving us permission to do so or permission to enter the spaces. I'm not currently living in Barbados because it's expensive, all right? I'm not gonna lie, I went to Massey. I took out a mortgage, I took my rent money, and I bought a week's worth of food, all right? And for me, if we're gonna have real conversations, that's a real conversations, because of the price of lamb I should be able to afford a steak, you know? I should be able to go into somewhere like Massey, buy a week's worth of food, and not feel that financial burden, because food is a priority, it's a necessity, it's not a luxury. Should never be a luxury. You know, traveling from the airport to St. Lucie, because yes, that's where we live, okay? He chose the furthest parish to live, but it's nice, because me and the ancestors, we talk in the wind all the time, you know, on the cane fields. But to go from the airport to St. Lucie shouldn't be just shy of $200. It's a madness. You know, if you want to turn around and say, actually, you can live here too. Those are the kind of conversations we need to be having in terms of actually, well, what can we do? And I just want to big up Visit Barbados, because that first year I did that festival, they gave me one ticket to go to Barbados, and I raffled that out. I couldn't take a friend, but they gave me one ticket in terms of supporting the festival, and I was pleased for that. And I was waiting for the next year, you know, for a second ticket. But thank you. Oh, I've got one more minute, okay? But I just want to say, you know, to be in a space like this, I just want to say that there are efforts being made to go back home. There are efforts being made to live globally, to live in 2 places at once. So rather than buying that holiday home in Spain, you know, try and secure something in the Caribbean, because whilst we are looking to the West is looking to the East. Or whilst we are, you know, looking from the global South to the global North is looking to the global South, because we have resources that we can build businesses with. You know what I mean? We have communities that we can tap into. We can add value. And it doesn't matter how people make you feel. If Barbados is your home, Barbados is your home. Thank you. Oh, by the way, Edwin Yearwood is coming in December the 2020. December 22, because I might not get a chance to plug, but Edwin Yearwood is coming here to the Clapham Grand to perform with a live band. So I'd love for you all to be there and sac passe. Thank you very much.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. That's how we do it. A Voice in My Head. That's a wonderful song. Everybody remember A Voice in My Head? Yeah, by Edwin here. What happened? Yes? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much that, you know, it's like you took us on a journey home. Yeah, thank you so much. Well, we have the only male here, Mr. Ricardo Eversley. And some of you might have seen that wonderful poster that was used to promote the event, and that was done by Ricardo. And can you give him a hand, please? And he did it free of cost. Ricardo Eversley is a London-based creative and senior lecturer in visual communication at London Metropolitan University's School of Art, Architecture and Design. His career focuses on the conversation between modern digital techniques and traditional graphic and visual communication processes and narratives. He's a fellow of the Higher Education Academy and currently holds a postgraduate diploma in teaching and learning in higher education. Let's welcome Ricardo Eversley.
I feel like I should stand now. Wendy, that was amazing. And so much of what you said I resonated with. I just got in the group being able to stand up. I am 45, so a few months later and I would have had to sit down. But I think I just want to touch on what was just said, because I feel that the aims of tonight are things that we did see in the past. I grew up in the 80s, and there are individuals in this room that weren't standing who were pivotal in Barbados, in the UK community. And, you know, I remember Barbados from the top of the UK to the bottom of the UK going en masse all around the country. And so I totally agree with what you're saying, that there's a lot to do, but we can definitely get back to those heights of the Royal Albert Hall and etc. So yes, we used to be in there on occasion. All right, so I'm gonna save my passion for later. I can ramble, and I was told I got 7 minutes, and this is coming in at about 6 minutes 30. So let's see what happens. So this is for engaging the diaspora youth in the development of Barbados. So Barbados, as it stands, at a pivotal crossroads where its rich cultural heritage intersects with rapidly evolving global creative industry. In my opinion, the diaspora youth, armed with expertise in graphic design, animation, digital arts, and cutting-edge technologies like AI, hold the key to unlocking a new era of development not only within Barbados, but within the wider Caribbean community. Barbados is already a global brand, synonymous with vibrant culture, rich heritage, and stunning natural beauty. But can we leverage this brand to transform itself into a hub for digital innovation, creativity, and design? So I'm going to look at 4 key areas for consideration, and within each I'll focus on leveraging, engagement, and retention. So the first is, and I'm staying within my palette of knowledge as well, I'm definitely not going elsewhere. So the first is digital design, gaming, and new technologies. So based on World Bank estimates, the global digital design market is expected to grow to $269 billion by 2025. By fostering collaborations between local creators and the diaspora youth, Barbados can tap into this market. Advances in AI and UX design can lead to the creation of intuitive digital solutions for industries such as tourism and my industry of education. I couldn't locate much information on creative industry GDP within Barbados, which was something that I found really interesting. But a report from the IDB shows regional GDP around 2%. So there's a lot of scope for Barbados to maneuver within that 269 billion. And a closer look at gaming, and I think this is where we kind of have to look at the culture that we've grown up about, and looking at especially genders. So the closer look at gaming also shows a significant cultural shift in demographics, with women now comprising half of all gamers, marking a substantial evolution in gaming culture. Establishing global digital networks can bridge the gap between Barbados-based creators and those overseas. An example here is where AI could be used to enhance tourism experiences created by youth dispersed across the globe. This also means a diversification of the term home, so what we're talking about today, in a manner that can relate to digital residency, so being a resident but not necessarily being on the island, and impact over physical presence. To retain the youth in this first point, Barbados needs a robust digital infrastructure supported by policies. Invested in co-working spaces and tech accelerators can make Barbados an attractive base for local creators. The second area is animation and illustration, and this covers areas such as film, storytelling, and the design, game design. So the global animation industry is projected to reach 270 billion by 2025. Barbados can tap into this market by leveraging its rich folklore, storytelling traditions, and diverse culture to create unique animated content, illustrated stories, and video games. The British Film Institute states that animated content with strong cultural narratives tends to perform better internationally, offering Barbados a competitive edge. There are also opportunities to build regional networks. One such idea could be collaborating with the Anime Caribe Festival, which is in Trinidad. A study by Creative Industries Federation found that such programs can increase creative output by around 40%. Establishing dedicated animation studios and comprehensive training programs can provide world-class opportunities and a thriving creative ecosystem locally. For example, South Korea's investment in animation education led to a 50% increase in local content production within 5 years. Point 3 is experiential and visual arts. So things such as arts installations, immersive design, and also museum curation. So according to a report by the Global Wellness Institute, experiential tourism is one of the fastest growing segments, expected to grow by 20% annually. I also want to thank Google at this point because I had to do a lot of searching for this stuff. Public spaces featuring immersive installations that blend art and technology can enhance both tourism and local engagement. And as you were speaking, Wendy, this was what I was thinking in regards to yourself. Virtual collaborations, pop-up galleries, and international arts festivals can strengthen ties with global art communities and increase overall cultural exchange. Retention can be obtained by developing a dedicated arts district or cultural corridor within the island. For instance, cities like Melbourne have the Melbourne Arts Precinct, and they have seen a 25% increase in local artist retention by establishing dedicated arts districts. And the final area is digital design and AI. And here I kind of look at smart cities, augmented reality, and AI-driven art. So integrating AI and AR, artificial intelligence and augmented reality, into urban and public spaces can position Barbados as a leader in smart city technologies. According to McKinsey, smart city initiatives can reduce urban energy consumption by 15% and improve public service efficiency by 25%. There goes that $200 to St. Lucie. We need smart cities. Where was I? And there are some examples of this in the Caribbean, one being New Kingston in Jamaica, to name one. AI-driven art and augmented reality experiences can become signature elements of Barbados' creative economy, attracting tech-savvy tourists and fostering innovation, which is, again, you know, an area that I work within with my students. Investment in Barbadian AI and machine learning professionals can lead to advancements in smart urban planning or the creation of AI tours and historical sites. A report by Deloitte indicates that international collaborations in AI can enhance local innovation capabilities by 30%. So offering incentives for AI-driven startups and partnering with universities, like myself, to establish AI research centers can keep top talent at home. Barbados can look to Singapore's AI initiatives, which have led to 40% increase in local AI startups within 3 years. And aligning these efforts with Barbados' current digital transformation goals can ensure a sustainable and innovative future. Okay, that's me.
Wow. You know, I'm listening to this son of the soil. He's going to say I was born here, but we claim. But, you know, I'm thinking about the economy and how, you know, what's happening right now. We don't have a lot of jobs, which is why our young people are leaving. Can you imagine if this explodes on the island? So just get your questions and comments, and remember, we want to try to come up with solutions, all right? Okay, thank you so much, Ricardo. Very well researched, very well presented. Thank you so very much. Now we have Miss Leah Affiah. Leah Affiah. Oh boy, the eyes. So let me. Leah Affiah is a founder of Island Ting Kitchen, a vegan cloud kitchen inspired by her Rastafarian roots and Caribbean flavors. Frustrated by the lack of exciting vegan options, Leah creates unique plant-based dishes and desserts. A well-being advocate, Leah empowers professionals through digital storytelling and events. Over 10 years of experience in marketing and project management across the health industry, she brings creativity and passion to everything she does. Ms. Leah Affiah.
Thank you, Wendy. I think there's a lot of interesting points being raised here. Marcia, sorry, Wendy. Wendy, I relate to you because I am also half Jamaican, half Bajan, so you're like a sister. And I also remember like meeting you, but not like in real person on Clubhouse when you was talking about Irradiate. And I really love to see what you've done so far with it and the reiteration you've done this year. I thought it was really cool. I didn't get to make it to your event this weekend, but I had seen people went and had a really good time. So I just thought I'll just mention that. And I just really love that there's some things that you mentioned in all your talks that I feel like would relate to what I'm about to talk about. But before I go into what I'm going to say, the reality is, am I talking too low? Sorry. Barbados is hard right now. I have many friends there who want to leave. I've been told to go 90-day fiance, find a man online, go on Tinder, get out. If you haven't got an education, that's what people are doing. That's the reality of the situation. A dating app. Because times are really hard in the country. As Wendy mentioned, the food, cost of living. There's so many times I've wanted to move to Barbados in the past, and I've never done it. Every time I've about to done it, I've gone there for 6 months, 5 months, and I've always come back because I thought it's just way too expensive. I can't do it. So I understand why the diaspora is not really coming back, because at the end of the day, there isn't really the support to kind of do what they want to do. And if you're getting the opportunity to get US dollars or GBP, you're going to take it, because at the end of the day, you're getting twice the money, 3 times the money. You can help your family and have a better lifestyle for yourself, because at the end of the day, we are a digital world. Everything is way more connected, whereas someone's just happy for you to come down with your hand-me-downs and give them. Nobody wants that no more. Everyone wants the latest fashions. Everyone wants the latest phone. Everybody wants to be able to, everybody wants to have the lifestyle. And you cannot do that if you do not have the money or you're making £4 an hour, because at the end of the day, I mean, going out in Barbados just alone, I think it cost me like £80. And I don't even pay that price to go out in this country. But that's the kind of way we are living in. So anyway, going back to my talk, sorry. So I want to talk first of all about Barbados as a brand. And I feel like Barbados does have a strong brand, especially amongst the old people. Sorry, I feel like I'm shaking. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, just making sure. Barbados does have a strong brand, but it's mainly more for older people. When you really hear about Barbados, you hear about flying fish, cricket, and the beaches. That's it. We're not really known for anything else. And when I was speaking about this topic before, when I was in Notting Hill Carnival this year, I saw so many people with Jamaican flags. They were white, black, Chinese, it didn't matter. They were in a Jamaican flag. And when I was in Jamaica this year, actually for a couple of weeks, one thing everyone makes sure they do when they get there is to have a Jamaican bikini, a baseball cap, a T-shirt. We do not have that same level of kind of pride for Barbados. Maybe we in here do, but when people come to our country, they don't. And I think that needs to change. So I think a bit of a strengthening of our brand is really important. Yes. So MIA is also a great export, because when I talk about Barbados these days, that's another thing that comes up. Everyone goes, oh, I love your Prime Minister. So I think that's great. So I do think we're doing quite amazing things. However, I think we can leverage our brand a bit better. And when I say that, we don't really recognize that there's a lot of amazing Bajans doing amazing things. So when you're talking about AI, there's a lot of events I've been to in Barbados and outside of Barbados where I've met amazing Bajans doing amazing things in tech. And have really, led the way and are creating new things every day. I don't know what's going on with this mic. But for example, there is a guy, I didn't even know this until today, until I've done a little bit of research, called Alan Emtage. Does anybody know who he is? Oh, I'm glad some people do. But he created the first ever search engine online. And I don't really hear anyone speaking about him. So if we want people to appreciate us as a diaspora and come back to Barbados, we have to appreciate what the diasporans are actually doing for Barbados and actually amplify them, because we have way more than Rihanna to be thankful for. We are thankful for Rihanna, but there's way more to be thankful for. And I think there just needs to be more opportunity to give those platforms for people to speak about it and glorify the amazing things that are happening globally around the world. Because there are Bajans in Poland, there's Bajans in China, they're everywhere actually flying a flag, but who's really actually highlighting and showcasing these people? I want to go on to my next point about entrepreneurship. Myself, I've tried to start a business in Barbados. It was so hard, I just gave up. It was really hard to find information, very hard to find data. I asked someone to give me some research. All now, that was in 2017, I have not got an email yet, right? So at the end of the day, if we want people to come back to Barbados, we need to be able to have the resources to do that. They should make it easier, have taxes, tax alleviations for people who want to come back. And things like that to kind of encourage them to come back, to share their skills and to give people jobs, because that is what we do need, people to have jobs. You could go there and start a business, but you might not want to, because you're like, this is just so damn hard. Why am I going to bother? Let me stay here. And I just think that there needs to be more encouragement. I think Bajans want to come back and they want to do things, but I think Barbados also needs to help them to do so also. I also, on my last point, because I have a background in education as well, I want to talk about the possibility of exchanges of education. So it means, like in Jamaica, they have a Fulbright program where students who are from a Jamaican descent can go to Jamaica for 6 weeks and learn more about Jamaica. And I thought, if we had this kind of program for Barbados, that would be really amazing. It would give people a chance to understand their culture, because I think lower than millennials, especially when we talk about the UK especially, there's kids, even my nephews and nieces, they say they're from Barbados, but they don't really know anything about it. They've been, but they have no attachment. They don't really like soca. They don't really eat the food, really. So what is their attachment that they have? And for me, I'm really worried about that dying, that Bajan pride dying, because at the end of the day, as kids have gotten, I feel like now, when I was younger, you asked where you from. I was born in England, but I'm going to go, I'm half Jamaican, I'm half Bajan. If you ask a kid now, they say, I'm British. They don't relate with the Caribbean like we used to. So how do we keep that alive in our young people who are more far removed, because their parents are probably born in England, they're born in England. So how do we keep that alive? Because a lot of people, I know a lot of Bajans, they have not been to Barbados since they were probably like 5. They don't go back. They're not like me. I'm the only one of my friends that keep going back. So how do we keep that alive in our young people, especially if they're second, third generation? And that brings me to my last point. Passports, again, for Jamaica. Very easy to get a citizenship, whether you're second or third generation. We've asked many times. we wanted this passport. I've been dying for a passport. I didn't want to marry anyone to get it because I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to. And all now, since, when was the regathering meant to happen? 2020? They promised that to us. And all now, that has not happened. So I feel like in order to engage the Bajan diaspora, there needs to be a bit of respect put on the Bajan diasporan's name. If you want us to come back, you want us to spend money, you want us to invest, you actually need to support us to do so instead of making it so hard for us to do so. We shouldn't have to be begging for citizenship. We shouldn't have to be begging to help invest. Make it easy for people to come back. I don't want to compare Jamaica again, but I remember a couple of months ago, Jamaica High Commission done an event actually for millennials and younger, talking about this kind of thing, talking about how to invest in Jamaica, how to come back, how to do these things. You really need to galvanize and embrace us so we're happy to come back and do what we want to do. I can go back, I can fit, I can go to a funeral, but it's not making any long-lasting changes for us, and that's what we want. And as the generations get on, and that kind of Caribbean culture dies out, and their favourite thing is now fish fingers and chips. How do we do that? Because no one's making cuckoo and flying fish no more, even though it's our national dish. We all know it's really macaroni and baked chicken, and I'll leave it on that point. Thank you.
Okay, so, you know, and Leah, thank you for that. And you're speaking from experience. And I could see everybody in the audience nodding, right? And say, yes, yes, yes. Guys, that was just really, really wonderful. And thank you for bearing your soul and for being real. Now, this is now your time.